Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Talking Grit. It's a biting recaps of the Lions versus Texans last preseason game. Finally, it's over. We're going to get down to roster cuts. We're going to have another pod with our 53-man roster predictions out soon. But today, we're going to discuss yesterday's events with my man, Jacob Litton is here. Jacob, I know that both of you and I did not see this game live, and we had to watch replays, which was probably pretty good so that we could fast forward through all the stuff that we didn't need to see.
I tried to watch it live. I was in a cabin in Ohio. I was in hell. No. Wi-Fi connection not very good. Phone service not very good. I got the game to play. It just was up and down pretty much the whole time. Borderline unwatchable. So yeah, I watched the condensed version. I seen all the plays once I got home.
Yeah, I watched the whole version when I got home. I was at a Boy Scouts thing, and I got conned into playing kickball. And I saw while I'm waiting to kick for my turn, I had my phone and I'm watching it. And of course, like I put my phone away and the 33-yard Teslaa touchdown happens while I'm kicking.
Oh man.
But it was awesome. I got to see the replays a bunch of times. So I wish I would have saw it live. But
I
it
did
was
get to
pretty
see
cool.
that live. It pulled through. That's amazing.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you got to see that because that was definitely the highlight of the game for sure. Before we get into anything that happened in the game, other than that, I want to get some superficial thoughts on the uniforms. That's the first time we've seen the blue uniforms on the white pants. What did you have any thoughts? Did you like it? Did you rather have the silver pants? What's your thoughts, Jacob?
I'm not too picky about what color pants that we wear. You know, I thought it looked clean. It looked nice. So, I mean, I thought it looked cool. I mean, I like the way the gray pants look too, though. I'm not impartial to either of them.
I go silver pants all the way. It was all right to me, but I really didn't like it. You know who else I know would not like it, Jacob?
James Houston.
He's James Houston. Oh my God!
I knew where you're going. He's ruined the white pants for us. He's ruined the white pants for this team.
I was like, oh my God! Can you imagine the mess that would have happened if James Houston would have been wearing those pants? But no, the ones that I'm waiting for them, I'm hoping that they don't do monochrome all year. Although I do like the blueberries, and we usually play, pretty well. And I know you're a superstitious person, so you'd probably rather just say monochrome all year.
It's a new year. It's a new year, so I'm okay with moving past that. If we lose two games not wearing the monochrome, then we just need to go back all blue, all white.
Is that your rule? Okay, I just want to see the black jerseys with the blue pants. That's what I really want to see. No. I'm hoping that we get
There's
to see
all kinds
that,
of options. I'm fully on board with just mixing it up.
Yeah.
They all look nice. There's not any combination or anything where I would be like, I hate when we wear this. Like, it's not.
Yes, I agree with you. I watch, they've had some jerseys over the years that I haven't really liked, but I watched this thing. They had the NFL put out, was an anniversary or something. It was the Emmitt Smith versus Barry Monday Night Football game. They they just showed highlights of that game, and they had those old jerseys with the plain helmet, the plain silver helmet, and whatever that blue was that they had in those. It was like this game was at 94, so you were probably like 4 years old. So I know you didn't watch it. For me, my parents wouldn't let me stay up and watch it, but I was at the top of the steps listening to the game as the Lions won in overtime with a Jason Anson kick. But those jerseys are clean. I really like that blue and that just plain helmet looks pretty cool. A player that played in that game just got inducted in the Pride of Lions. That's Robert Porcher, which I don't know. Did you catch him on the tail end of your watching, like when you started watching Lions?
I saw, I think the day before, or maybe it was the morning of, like the Lions, I think Twitter or something, like was sharing around like that he was in the house or, that he was nearby. So, I mean, I guess I kind of thought maybe something like that was going to be coming up. Did they interview him in a booth? Because I did not see that.
No, they did not. They showed when Chris Spielman came in, they showed Chris telling Robert that he was going to be in the Pride Alliance, and he looked pretty shocked. So I guess what I was getting to, Jacob, is when you started watching the Lions, I mean, you would have watched him at the tail end of his career, but you probably don't have any idea of how dominant he was or anything like that just from, from your when you watch the game.
When
I know
I
you can see
watched
the
him, he was
stats.
kind of an afterthought. He was still a starter. He was, he was just one of the older veterans on the team and everything. But I mean, it's kind of surprising that he's not already into the pride of the Lions just because of how long tenured he was. And I mean, the impact that he made when he was here. He never left, right? He was a Lion his entire
That's
career.
correct. Yeah.
It just was a little surprising to me that he was not already in there.
Yeah, I kind of shocked too. He's going to be the 22nd player inducted. Like Jacob said, played his whole career with the Lions, 92 to 2003. Drafted in the first round, so he, even out of college, he was highly thought of. Had 95 and a half sacks with the Lions. Still holds the single season record of 15. He set that in 1999, which is would have broke that last year. I'm hoping that he breaks it this year. But and another stat that is awesome when you look back at Robert Porcher, he missed 5 games in his entire career. 5, and he played from 92 to 2003. To me, that's amazing. To only miss 5 games.
And it wasn't like he wasn't injured. That dude had to be banged up playing defensive line in the 90s. Like he was fighting through some stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Club. I mean, back in those days, like Reggie White would have that club. He'd club people. The offensive linemen have that too. Like you could just beat on people,
beat the crap out of people.
Yeah. So I'm excited about Robert getting in there. They are going to do it. It looks. I thought based on the date, it's the very first home game. So I'll be there. It's versus the Bears. So it'll be week 2 of the season, first home game. Looking forward to that. I'm glad. Yeah, I rooted for him. He was a very good Lion during time when I was watching him when I was younger, and I'm happy for him.
Well deserved, long overdue.
Yeah, exactly. The person that told us that he was going to be inducted is Chris Spielman, who happened to be in the booth. And I know that this won't be a big deal for you, Jacob, but for me to have Chris Spielman in the booth I really enjoyed it. So we talked about it. Barry's my favorite all-time Lion. Chris Spielman's is right up there. If we don't include Barry, he is my favorite all-time Lion. But after he got done with the Lions and retired from, he went to a couple of other teams. But when he got done, he actually was in the booth and did color commentary, and he was very, very, very good. And part of the reason why I liked him so much is that when he would ever call the Lions games, he would not be biased towards the Lions, but he was definitely a commentator that didn't talk down about the Lions. Like so many times in the 2000s, it was just, the commentators probably were not happy that they had to call a Lions game, usually not, sometimes not competitive and sometimes not great football. But Chris Spielman would always you could tell he wanted to root for the Lions. So, and they let him call, like Jason Benetti let him call some of the plays, and he actually was in there when the Strickland had that really nice tackle in the secondary.
Yeah.
It was like perfect timing. And Chris had this very, 2 steps, drive, hit him, drive through the player, head up, drive through the player, not to the player. I really enjoyed that part. So I was really happy that I got to hear Chris in the booth one more time.
I did hear that even in the condensed version. I heard him talking about the technique and the fundamentals that Strickland showed right there.
And that was the kind of stuff that he would do in the telecast, but the way of speaking about it just, obviously that excites him, and it came through on the broadcast when he would do that. And obviously me being a big fan of Chris, I was really interested in what he had to say at the time. So yeah, I kind of got nostalgic for Chris Spielman at that point in the booth, and would have liked to have him in there more. However, TJ Lang does a pretty good job, actually. I think him and Jason Benetti actually do a pretty good job together.
Right? I like Benetti, and TJ does a good job. It's not bad for sure.
No, it's better than the last year. I can tell you that. It's better than it has been. This is one of the better booths for the preseason for the Lions in a while. Like usually we get guys that really have no experience, And I don't, TJ's in the radio booth, but he's like the third man in the booth, so he'll come in every once in a while. Obviously,
Right.
Jason Benetti is Jason Benetti and just does an amazing job. I know some people don't like that he gets off on a tangent or jokes around, but I like it. I like Jason.
That's perfect for me because I don't ask much out of the announcer. It's just
I know.
Don't be annoying. Don't be biased. Don't do anything like that. And right, Benetti, it just feels like you're sitting there watching the game with him, right? Or you're sitting there with your friends or whatever, they're just talking.
No, and that's what he does really good is that he calls the game, and I think that he's kind of, Benetti's like fell in love with the Detroit fan in general. It sounds like he comes through on the baseball podcast or broadcast. He, is just amazed that first of all, he always brings up like the famous people that watch the Tigers all know their stuff, like Jack White, J.K. Simmons, those guys that they have in the booth sometimes, watch them every day. They're not just like a casual fan that, oh, I know who Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson and Tarek Skubal. No, I know the 25th man on the roster, and I know, everything, about him because they watch every game. It's pretty neat to see someone get brought into Detroit sports culture and take to it so fast.
Absolutely. No, it's been great. He's been perfect. Did
Yes.
did Dingler's strikeout look as bad in person as it did on TV? Because you were at the game.
I was at the game today. I don't know because I was out in 114, so I'm sure it looked way worse on TV.
It was terrible. Horrible. Yeah. All right. We don't have to harp on that.
We're going to talk about another bad Detroit game, although this outcome didn't matter like it did today for the Tigers. But all right, Jacob, we're going to talk about the Lions Texans. Obviously, Texans took it to the Lions. The only positive, we only scored one touchdown in the game. My first question is, what did we learn in this game? Did we learn anything?
Not much, man. It's been a tough preseason. Obviously, at the end of the day, the wins and losses don't count. But I don't like to say it doesn't really matter. You want a complete game. You want the play calling. You want the coaching. You want the players. Like, you want to come out on top. Doesn't matter that it doesn't really count. So that we weren't able to do that is very frustrating. That it wasn't even, most of these games were not competitive. And this was just ugly. I mean, you're watching, like I said, I had to watch the condensed version. I felt like I saw maybe 6 minutes of Lions on offense. The Lions ran 36 offensive plays in this game, 9 first downs. They didn't have any red zone possessions. Really, really did not help us out, as far as trying to evaluate these players from the outside, try to get our own 53 prediction. And I know it doesn't help the team very much. Some of the people that we said we wanted to see more of, like Meeks got 11 snaps on offense. Lovett had 24 snaps on offense. So that was, he had decent, but I mean, just not enough looks for most of these guys on offense. But then you flip it over, there's a whole lot of defensive football being played. Didn't look good on defense either, though. Plenty of opportunities, we're not making the most of them. So really just a game dominated by the Texans.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you would want at least one or two of those defensive linemen to pop. Not expected too much from the offensive line. I guess, we get stock up. Who popped, obviously. But you had mentioned Lovett. He had 2 targets in the game. No catches, no yards. Jackson Meeks, shocking that he only got 11 snaps, which makes me think there was an ulterior motive for keeping him off the field. That's the only logical thing that I can come up with, that the Lions are like, you know what, we're just going to try to, maybe we'll stash this guy. We don't want, if he shows out 3 games in a row, then we're going to either have to put him on the 53 or we're going to lose this guy.
That's where it's kind of up in the air based on that decision. They either have seen what they need to see and they know they're going to have to keep him on, or like you kind of alluded to right there, is we're not going to let anybody else see what this guy's got because we are going to need to stash him on the practice squad.
Right.
And I don't know. It's a big gamble.
It is. And I mean, part of it also, like you said, is we just didn't have the ball very much. We could not move the ball after Kyle Allen, gave way to Hendon Hooker. And so therefore it decreases the chances all these players have. So I'm with you. We did not learn very much in this game at all for useful. I looked at my 53. I'm like, I don't know if some of it might have changed just from time and me thinking about it, but I don't know how much this game drastically changed what I had on my 53 before, and then what is on my 53 now.
Right. Yeah, some of the players that you had circled is just not enough of a sample size in this one game. So you do kind of have to go off of how you were feeling before, and it's a toss up in quite a few spots here.
I agree. All right. So we didn't learn too much, as we said, but stock up. I got 4 players in my stock up. Really, I could add a 5th now that I'm thinking about it. I'm going to just take the obvious. Teslaa just came through again, not only on the touchdown and the amazing worm. That might have been the best worm I've ever seen in my entire life.
You are not lying, man. Right.
Yeah.
Impeccable.
It was insane. I was like, what is going on? And my wife agrees with me. That was an amazing worm. They did do Cupid's arrow after that when he got to the sideline. I don't know if you saw, but he got asked about that in the post game. The Cupid's arrow. Did you see the post game? Okay. So they asked him about it, and they said it was because the refs came in and talked to them. You cannot point the arrow at someone, but you could point it in the air. So kind of, I think they talked about it maybe in the last broadcast, but it was in Teslaa confirmed it was because the refs that came in and talked to them. And so I think that they probably just thought that was funny. Like, I don't think he would have did the bow and arrow before, but just because they thought, okay, so if I point it up in the air, I'm okay. And then I don't know if it was in this broadcast. I think was it or maybe it was. I was listening to Eric and Jeremy, and they go, what's really funny is that it's almost more dangerous to point at the bow and arrow up in the air because you don't know who you're hitting at. Just the random person's gonna get the arrow because you're shooting it up in the air.
That's offensive to the fans that are sitting out there.
Yeah, exactly. But the play that I was really impressed with, especially if you go back and look at it a couple times, is that slant play that he got for a first down on that same drive. Really juked the cornerback out of his shoes, and the cornerback actually fell down. And Teslaa made a really nice catch, got the first down on it. So very good play from Teslaa in this game. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, he just keeps getting better and better, right? He's doing what we said from the beginning before he actually scored the first touchdown is he's doing everything that's asked of him, and he looks like he's getting better every time that we see him out there. And I mean, this one, it wasn't like he put like an amazing move on the corner. He just, hesitated and then you go, and it was a beautiful pass by Kyle Allen. Yeah. It was not a difficult catch to make, for Teslaa. So, I mean, it was just a great play overall. But I mean, he's going to be very hard to ignore because now the preseason's over and now we've seen what he's doing in these small sample sizes. But is that somebody that you don't, you got to have him out for some offensive plays, I feel like. I don't think you can just have him on special teams anymore. I think he's ready right now to get, at least a couple offensive snaps in there. Maybe not necessarily design plays that are going to him and targets like that, but I mean, get him out on the field and utilize him.
Yeah. He's pushed his way onto the field for sure with his, there is always a preseason darling, and maybe it's Jackson Meeks this year and I don't know if I necessarily get the feeling from him. It's like the Tom Kennedy thing where they ball out in the preseason and then you never hear from this guy again. Some fans are like, we need to get this guy in the field, and then you never see him. He gets cut, goes to another team, never does anything. I do not get that feeling from Teslaa, the way that he is winning these reps and just like how dominant he looks. And he's not catching just like easy passes because he's playing weaker competition. The stuff that he's doing is you could see how it projects into the regular season. That was a nice route that he ran, very nice hands catch. The last touchdown, like we said, he shielded out the cornerback. Like all that stuff is very projectable for regular season play.
Yes, absolutely. Pro Football Focus has him rated the first best receiver in the preseason right now.
Really?
Yep. And that's actually, he's the only one, or I'm sorry, he's one of 2 that has more than 10 catches. And the only one that's above him right now is Jackson Meeks.
Jackson Meeks is
rated at 85.8. Teslaa's 85.1. But everybody else, like, they've got a receiver on here rated like 90 overall, and he's got 1 target, 1 catch, and not even a touchdown. So, I mean, it's hard for preseason. But point being, they are both playing well.
Yeah, no, they're doing it. All right, I picked Teslaa. I assume you got someone else other than Teslaa.
Yes. For a stock up, I'm going to say Trevor Nowatzki. He was all over the field. He had to play several different positions. He was playing on the line. He was playing the mic. He was doing Sam. They had him out there for, I think, the whole game or almost the whole game. I mean, he was constant. He was out there, but he was effective. He was not getting burned. He was not making mistakes, that I could see from my watch through. And it looked like he was doing a great job. And I really think he solidified his spot on the team. If he hadn't already done that last week, I think he already,
He had a disastrous Hall of Fame game, like a lot of the Lions. Like another guy that's on my stock up had a disastrous, Hall of Fame game, and Nowatzki's just shot up since then. And I have a feeling that Hall of Fame game, we just, as a team, we're not ready for that game. It just seems like it compared to how we played in the other ones. I know our record's not that great, but I also, we don't need to play for any of these starters. I mean, I know Teslaa might play up into being a starter at some point, but he was not, all our starting positions were set for the most part. So out of Tyleek and Tate getting those just snaps because they're rookies in the second preseason game or the Falcons game, we have just seen, 2s and 3s. And you're right. Nowatzki played the whole game, which sometimes could be disastrous. Like, oh my God, he played the whole third preseason game. That's not good. We were short on linebacker. I mean, at that point. And so he's just, and they got what the thing is that like they were getting him in different spots, like getting more middle linebacker reps because, he's primarily Derek Barnes' backup, but you want to have these guys multi-trained so he could play everywhere and he could play special teams. So, yeah, and he's lining up on sides ever since the Hall of Fame game. So, yes, definitely Nowatzki deserves to be in the stock up.
For sure. Who else you got?
Next guy, I'm going to go with I'll go with Strickland. I thought Strickland had a very good game. Tackle for loss. We got highlighted in that, great tackle that Chris Spielman said just drove right through the guy. Played pretty well, and it's a guy that needed to play well with Kennelly, essentially repping ahead of him. However, they repped the same this game. They were playing side by side. So I thought Strickland played a really good game. Dan Campbell called him out afterwards. So he agrees too. I thought Strickland had a good game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was like the second that he came into the game, he was already making an impact. And, unfortunately, he was having to play that safety position pretty well because they were breaking off runs. There were some receivers that were running open, and he, I think, had maybe 2 or 3 possible touchdown saving tackles, where he's the last line of defense and he was able to get the job done. So I agree with that. He had a good game. That huge hit helped. I'm sure it helped his confidence and everything too. I don't know if you saw like the all 22 or if you've watched more into it, but the touchdown that was like a short touchdown pass, Strickland is lined up over that receiver. He cuts across the field, and then there's just miscommunication between him and Kennelly. And I don't know if he's just trying to pass him off to Kennelly, and Kennelly's not over in the flat where he's supposed to be, or,
Okay.
I don't know exactly. I can't say what happened, but that was a miscommunication between them that led to that guy being wide open. So that one is not a good look for one or both of them. But you're right. If we're trying to look at snap counts to try to get a better idea as to like who's got the edge, if they're looking for one more safety, is it this guy or that guy? They both played 40 defensive snaps, and then Kennelly had 12 snaps on special teams. Strickland had 10. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at the very least, if they were leaning one way towards Kennelly, now they're maybe 50-50 back with Strickland. And Strickland was here last year, which I feel like, usually gives you the upper hand. But, I mean, that's, going to be one of those questions here.
It will be. We'll discuss that on our 53-man pod recording later on tonight.
The only other one I want to mention that I have as stock up is just Nate Lynn. I just felt like he had a pretty good game. I mean, he was in the backfield consistently. He was causing pressure. Maybe as a whole unit, the defense didn't do very well, but I still think that Nate Lynn made an impact. I think he put enough positive tape out there that he, is putting himself in the discussion for that final spot too.
he needed to have a good game. I wish it a little more pressure that we would have got on quarterback, but it is what it is. Kyle Allen, definitely 5 for 5. I know he didn't do much, but he's just out there just making good decisions with the football and just looks in control. That's the thing that when you get the difference between Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker in there, Kyle just looks like he's not flustered and he's just in control and knows exactly where to go with the ball. And if not, he's getting rid of it, or he just doesn't look panicked.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have him in stock up just because I don't know how the stock could possibly be any higher, really, because he went from the Hall of Fame game where we were very worried about our backup quarterback situation between everybody to seeing him in practice in person a little bit, and then week in, week out, getting better to the point now where it's like, you know what? If he had to come in for a series, or, obviously we don't want anything to happen in golf, but if we had to come in for a series or maybe, a quarter or something like that, I don't think that would waste the entire game now. I have confidence that he'd at least be able to keep control of the offense.
I agree. He would know where to get the ball. Like, if you hear him talk, he said he loves the offense because it has so many outs. Like, depending on what the defense shows, he knows where to go with the ball, which shows he has a good understanding of the offense. If he gets in there, God forbid that Goff comes out, he's going to have Jameer or David. He's going to have his, starting offensive line and all those weapons. And all he's going to be asked to do is get the ball to them. And not saying that he's Goff or, that we would go on without a beat. I think, we definitely lose something going down to Kyle.
Right.
But I agree with you. If he had to come in for a series or a half or something like that, I'm not thinking, oh, we automatically lost this. Not happy about it. My stomach is starting to churn, but at the same time, I feel much better now than I did, versus Los Angeles in the Hall of Fame game when I was like, oh my God, both of our guys suck.
Before we move to stock down, do you have anybody else to mention?
Just Craig Reynolds again. I really like that cut that he had on that short out pass he ran out to the flats. He made the first guy miss. He's just been a really good, I know he's facing lesser competition, but he's done what he's kind of exceeded my expectation. He's definitely played more in the preseason than I thought he was. A lot of that's because Vaki has been injured for 3 out of the 4 games. But yeah, I like what Craig is, and it just reminds me of what a nice backup he is.
Yep, I agree with that. His receiving threat, he had a couple catches, and he had some run after the catch in this, and no, he looked great. Yeah. And I'm sure Craig just loves being out there. He wants to be playing football. He doesn't want to have to just be relegated to situational things and special teams. So yeah, good for Craig.
All right, what do you got for stock down? You got, I don't know how much you got listed for stock down.
I don't have too much for stock down, but
either do I.
If we're going to start with the obvious one, Hendon Hooker is fully tanked. I mean, even worse than he was before, which is just really, really unfortunate. It's just, I don't understand what's going on there. But Kyle Allen, you got the trajectory of Kyle Allen week in, week out, every practice. He just keeps getting better, and he's getting better. Hendon is getting worse. It's not even like Hendon is just saying the same and staying consistently here or there, positive, negative. It's bad. Honestly, I mean, I don't know what you could say good. He only made, I think, 1 good throw or 2 good throws. One of them got called back for a hold, but he did not lead a single scoring drive this preseason. 22 completions, 40 attempts, no touchdowns, 3 picks. Pro Football Focus rating of 38.5, which was the 8th worst among all quarterbacks. And he's the only one that got to play in 3 games or more. So, like the receiver thing, some of these quarterbacks that were below him only played in 1 game or only had 6-7 snaps, and Hendon got plenty of work in there. And honestly, it felt like he did not have control of anything. The team didn't have control of anything. And I feel like, maybe Zach Horton, Meeks, Lovett, I feel like those guys missed out on opportunities because he was not able to distribute the ball the way he should have been. Dan Campbell also had that quote. I'm sure you saw it too, but I mean, they asked him about it. He said, how much development do you believe there still is? Sometimes, does a player need a change of scenery? What about our depth in other areas? I mean, the writing's on the wall right here. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. It's just really a bad situation.
Yep. Yeah, so it's funny when I looked at their Kyle Allen and Hendon Hooker's number, so I did not include the Hall of Fame game in this. So just in the 3 regular preseason games, Kyle Allen was 26 for 30. Yeah, 26 for 30 for 314 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Hendon in those 3 games was 19 for 34, 169, 0 TDs, 2 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. So it's really, really bad. And, especially when, like you said, Kyle Allen's trajectory just keeps going up. And, I know that they said Hendon's looking better in practice, but if he gets brought into a game, we're in a lot of trouble. A lot of
We're
trouble.
talking about practice?
Talk him up practice. All right. So obviously Hendon's on my stock down. My other one is just the secondary, and the secondary did not play well. Whiteside didn't have a good game. Outside of Strickland, pretty much the whole secondary looked pretty out of place the whole game. Getting beat on crossers. Didn't help that we weren't getting enough pressure on the quarterback. So he had like time to get, these crossing routes, and the Lions struggled with those in practice and the joint practice, and it seemed like they struggled with them in the game.
Yeah, I agree. I specifically called out Whiteside, though, because that was somebody that really needed to show up, too, and, try to take that roster spot. And I think he kind of fell flat in the worst way, to where after last week, you kind of thought he's maybe maybe he's making this team. He's like on the better side of the 53 right now. He just needs to have a good game. And I feel like he had such a bad game that now he may be on the outside looking in, which is also unfortunate for somebody to be fighting for it. But he got beat like 3 or 4 times. He gave up a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, in the other guys, though, Alan George has only been here like 2 weeks or something like that. He's been up and down. Miller gave up a touchdown. Who else was the other one? Tyson Russell. Tyson Russell got that interception off the pick, but I mean, he also gave up some big throws, and Tyson was the one, he did not set the edge on that run where they got like 15 yards away from it. And you just, stuff like that's got to drive them crazy. Like, that's not going to fly with Shep. I can't imagine them being in the room looking at film and him telling, that's just the basics of knowing your role and knowing where you're supposed to be. Unless it was man coverage and his man was the tight end going the other way or something, I just don't understand why he wouldn't have been on the outside for that. Just reaction time was way too little too late. So yes, I think you're right to say that nobody in the secondary really separated themselves from anybody else.
Nope. And, our just run defense was not good in general. I know like Keith Cooper is having good practices, but he had a chance at that goal line to get a tackle for loss. Got a broke tackle, and a guy ended up scoring a touchdown.
On that, though, because I know what you're talking about, because I saw that, I wanted to watch that on all 22 just to see what happened. And he put a move, like, I mean, he shucked the offensive lineman to get in the backfield. So, yes, he made a great play to even be in that position anyway, and then he misses the tackle. So it's like a positive, negative kind of thing right there, where he's right there, he can't get it. And then, everybody else is getting themselves blocked out of the play. There's nobody else. He was like the last effort. I want to say it may have been Avante. Like Avante kind of crashed down, or it might have been Rock. One of them kind of crashed down the line, but, when they're flying out of there like a rocket, you can't see. You got to watch the hole, and if he's sprinting the other way, you just couldn't get to him. That was from like the 6 or something like that. There's not enough space to make up.
No, and I know Leyland Uku had some pressures, but just
Agude actually had a decent game too.
Yeah. That's like the
just
first time that we've mentioned him in preseason.
Right, not great,
not
good,
enough.
not great.
Yeah.
Too little, too late, possibly.
Yeah, no, he needed a multi-sack game or something to get on.
Yeah.
He's just been kind of flying under the radar. He could be a guy that you try to put on practice squad because, I don't remember him being necessarily out of position for a lot of plays in this preseason, but he just hasn't had any flash plays to get, anyone to notice him.
Doesn't mean the coaches aren't noticing. Doesn't mean the people analyzing it aren't. And we don't know how he looks in practice, but yeah, nothing to distance himself.
That's correct. All right, man. I think that we've kind of wrapped up this game, last game of the preseason. My 53 is pretty much set. We're recording this. This is like we started around 7:00 on Sunday night. So I'm going to release this right away. So hopefully we have this out pretty shortly. But then we're going to do 9:00 tonight. We're doing our 53-man live. So I'm looking forward to that. Do you have yours all set, or are you still making some final
I've got
adjustments?
mine. There were a
All right, cool.
couple 50-50s that I had toss-ups on, as I'm sure there were for you, but I'm ready for
Yeah.
it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give myself probably a couple more look throughs, but just to make sure I'm on board. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right, anything before we take off here?
No, actually, wait, one more thing. Grant Stewart, great
Yeah.
kick return. So,
Yes, I meant to ask
after
you
I
about
said
that.
I wasn't sure about him, then here he goes.
You know what's hilarious about that is that right after that, Brian from Passing Time podcast, so, who was on Thursday, texted me and he goes, "Maybe Stewart should return kicks,"
Yeah.
like as a joke. Like it was really funny. Yes, and then we got. Did you see the YouTube comment we got on Stewart too?
No.
So someone on one of our podcasts on YouTube commented. He goes, "Thanks to you, every time I see Grant Stewart, I think of a Superman cape." Because I made that analogy. But Sarah made even better call on when we watched the game last night. She said it looks like a lion's mane. And after I see that, I'm like, it does look like coming out of the helmet. It does look like a lion's mane. So
All right,
I like
Sarah,
that
good
even
point.
better. So I might use that. That's pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna say goodbye for Jacob. I'm Jason. We'll see you soon. Actually, go Lions.